I mean, something I love about your show is how deep and sort of passionate and analytical about life you are. You just go into things. You truly love what you do. But people have called you the Steve Irwin of this generation. What was the sort of the inspiration for you for educating and working with animals? Did it come from your pre-med days and seeing the damage that it could do in the body?
No, it really came from Steve Irwin, actually. I've been into insects, specifically insects, for about as long as I can remember. Like, I think one of my earliest memories is catching a big grasshopper in my backyard. I grew up in northern Illinois. There wasn't a whole lot of wildlife up there because it was just super, super developed. Everything is agricultural land or suburbs, and so a lot of the really like cool stuff like reptiles, amphibians is just gone. So insects were kind of the cool wildlife that I had around. And I mean, one of my earliest memories, I don't even know if I could speak at the time, but I was like super, super young, probably barely able to walk. And I remember finding this big grasshopper in my backyard and just being mind blown by it. And so my interest in wildlife actually predates my discovery of Steve Irwin. I remember watching The Croc Hunter as a little kid, and it
Oh yeah.
was that was something that kind of fostered and ignited the wildlife interest more than it initiated it, because it was, oh, here's a grown up who's super passionate and everyone respects, who is teaching people about wildlife. And it kind of framed how I approached wildlife from there on out. So like in elementary school, I was the guy who'd catch bugs and teach people about them. That usually ended up in me getting beat up because people didn't care about that, but um, that's what I did. And then I want to say in high school, I discovered river monsters on Animal Planet as well. And around the same time, I started watching like Brave Wilderness on YouTube. And those were two things I'm like, okay, this is like what wildlife content looks like now, the more mysterious and scary. And I really liked that as a big science fiction fan, as a big fantasy fan. I really liked how River Monsters and Brave Wilderness spoke to that kind of imagination side of nature, how the creatures we share our planet with are scary and weird. And to me, it wasn't like a fear inducing thing. It was, oh, this is really cool. I want to add my hat to the ring. So I kind of played with the idea of doing a YouTube channel. Um, but it really started as a creative outlet in college. I mean, when I say that I hated pre-med, we can get into like the mental health side of that. Like it was, there's a very good reason why I'm not in the health field anymore. And I liked the biochemistry of it. I think chemistry is really fascinating, but that was something that I also got into in high school. College was, or university, I guess, was not my thing. I started the YouTube channel as a way to kind of creatively express myself. And it started as like, I mean, you've probably seen the old videos, the Can I Catch It series.
Hmm.
That was just like, can I film videos? Can I do my best to get the best cinematography I can with the tools that I have? Can I film wildlife in my backyard, and can I tell stories about them? And it was sort of just kind of me getting my footing with making these kind of videos. I've been making videos since, God, how old was I when I first started? 9, maybe. I've been making videos since I was like 9. But never wildlife videos. It was always like gaming videos or stupid little skits with my friends or Lego stop motion animation with my brother. I was kind of all over the place. It was college where I'm like, let's actually do a proper go at YouTube, but as a creative outlet. Maybe it'll become like a side hustle or something, and I can. Um, I think my initial pivot away from medicine, because like that's another whole can of worms too. It's a very detailed story, how I got into to being a wildlife educator, but my first pivot away from pre-med was to do science education. Like I was going to be like a science teacher. And I thought, well, maybe I'll use the channel as like a side hustle to help me pay the bills, because you don't get paid anything as a teacher here in the US. Um, and I could actually teach, which I prefer doing over medicine. I've always been like a natural teacher. Like one of my first YouTube channels that ever got any semblance of traction was a channel where I taught people how to program video games from their home laptop. So I've kind of had this natural for lack of a better word, I've had this natural like draw towards whenever I get good at something or I find something really interesting, I have this just this like inert or not inert, this internal urge to share it with people and show people how things work. I don't know
Hmm.
why that happens, just does. And so teaching science was like, okay, well, I'm good at science. I like science. I hate my science classes in university, but I know how I would teach these better. So I'll just teach science instead of doing medicine. Um, and I'll run a YouTube channel on the side to make some extra income to help supplement a teaching career. And that's how I'll do things. And then COVID hit the year that I graduated from university. And I'm like, well, let's actually see if I can do this YouTube thing full time because I didn't want to teach science through like the education system here online because it was just horrible. And it like the infrastructure was just not there for like distance learning yet. And I really didn't feel like being the guinea pig of the distance learning industry. So I'm like, the world's shut down. I've got nothing to lose. Let's just do YouTube and see what happens. And um, 2020, I got monetized on YouTube. It didn't quite pay me enough to pay all my bills, so I was like bartending and stuff on the side, something low maintenance to kind of just keep me on my feet. And then it was 2022 that the channel properly launched and started making enough money that I could actually go full time on it. And from there, that's basically what I've been able to do. But it's there's a lot of like twists and turns in there that if you want to explore more specifically, there's a lot of like points along the path where I'm like, this is kind of why I ended up here. But the long answer is, I would say Steve Irwin kind of fostered it, but I've always been into bugs since I was very, very young.